I'm Vera Keller. I'm professor of history at U of O, and I'm currently chair of the history department. I study early modern Europe, the history of knowledge. Specifically, I'm really interested in the origin of experimental sciences, but I've studied everything from Renaissance social media to the history of hints to the history of color and pigments and dyes. So I really try to follow in the footsteps of my historical subjects, who tend to be polymaths, people that try to know everything there was to know about something. And so while I don't claim to be a polymath myself, I do strive to be interdisciplinary and to try to follow my historical subjects wherever they want to take me, even if that is across many different disciplines. So I've worked in with art history quite a lot, as well as with history of science and history of the book. I do a fair amount of experimenting myself, trying to create historical experiments to understand what was going on, to understand crafts of the period as crucial to the rise of experimental sciences, and to think a lot about the different media and institutions and political ideals that went into the ways that knowledge was pursued in the period. So I've worked on history of political thought and its intersections with other forms of knowledge, such as the history of science. So if any of those sound interesting to you, I would love to work with you here at the University of Oregon. So I could have shown you illuminated manuscripts, gorgeous works of art, many incredible and priceless objects, Sumerian tablets. Our library has it all. But I chose to show you some unassuming books to show that what you see on the surface should not be how you judge a program or a book. So I'm taking the phrase "don't judge a book by its cover" a little bit literally here, to show you what lies inside and what we can get from immersing ourselves in the study of objects. Here at U of O, we have so many incredible collections, and many of our faculty work with them and can introduce students to them, from the Jordan Schnitzer Museum of Art to the Museum of Natural and Cultural History to special collections here. And so I want to encourage you, when you're thinking about graduate study, to look out for faculty advisors who can help you gain hands-on experience working with materials in ways that can really enrich your study of history, and in ways that can also prepare you for a lot of careers other than teaching as a professor in the future, whether that be as a curator or a librarian, working in the rare books trade, or in some other affiliated field. So I encourage you to reach out to me if you're interested in either the history of the book or the history of science. I'd love to look through some of these books with you here one day. Here's a map of the world, including North America, and where we are is right here, and it says these regions are not yet known up in the north. So we're living out here in the parts of the world that are as of yet unknown. But what's incredible about this book is that it went through many editions, because here it says these are the northern regions that are not yet known. It went through many editions, and every time new maps reached Ortelius, he would update the book with the very latest maps that he could. And so it's an incredible way to see the flow of information and the way that cartography was developing so very quickly, just by looking at how quickly these books change. And this particular volume, it seems, was updated by a very early reader in the 16th century. As new maps were added, they were inserted into this book, and the reader went ahead and changed the index with new page numbers to show us where those were inserted. And even as new cartographic and geographical discoveries were made, sometimes the reader adds them in on the maps themselves. So we have a very, very active and engaged reader, an incredibly beautiful collection of maps, all hand-colored in the period in the 16th century. So a wonderful way to think about the history of color, as well as the history of geography, cartography, history of the book, and the history of readership, all in one volume. We have so many stellar, stunning, gorgeous books and manuscripts from all parts of the world in this collection. And I could show you many, many more that would take your breath away with gorgeous colors, with gilding and precious materials. But what I want to do next is show you some books that really look very simple and very plain and as though there's nothing interesting about them, and help you see what we can get out of them by looking at them from a history of the book perspective. So follow me. So this little book looks rather dull. It's small. It's actually in terrible shape, and seems very, very unexciting. But it's one book I like to use to talk about why it's so important to manipulate books, to actually read books, not just to look at digital images of books online, but to experience the way a book is designed to be experienced, which is by actually opening it up and turning the pages. Because you get a wonderful surprise from this little unassuming book when you do that. This is a book called Conversations on the Plurality of the Worlds, Entretien sur la pluralité des mondes. And it has a very surprising thesis in it. It is set in a garden. It is a conversation between a man and a woman from late 17th century France. This edition is printed in Amsterdam. And one of the arguments in this little conversation is that the world that we live on is not the only world out there, that our sun is not the only sun, but rather that the world is infinite. The universe stretches on forever, and that there are many suns with their own solar systems. And the way that sense of sudden revelation of immensity is materialized in the form of this book is through using a Tipton engraving. A Tipton engraving is when you have an engraving added to a book that is bigger than the book, and so you have to fold it out. And the author says in this book, I'm going to draw back the curtains of the world, and I'm going to reveal to you what lies behind them, what you cannot see with your naked eye, what we have to use our mind to journey to. I'm going to reveal to you that hidden behind the curtains of the world, there is an infinite universe and many solar systems out there. And in order to get that image, we have to go through that act of unfolding these pages. And it's kind of a physical act, but it's also a mental act, that we are opening the curtains of the universe and looking at what lies behind them, what we cannot see with our naked eye, but what the book introduces us to. And so here in this incredible engraving, there is this theatrical curtain which is pulled back, and barreling down into it is solar system after solar system after solar system. There's ours, yes, but there are so many others. And so this tiny, tiny little book opens up into literally infinity. So when you're working on your application for graduate study at the University of Oregon in history, you are going to be asked to write a personal statement. And a lot of applicants find it pretty confusing what they're supposed to be writing about in their personal statement. Is it supposed to be like the essay that you wrote to get into college for your undergraduate degree? No, no, it is not. In the personal statement, what you're trying to do is explain how you reached your interest in history specifically and what area of history interests you. And it's a great time to identify potential advisors and call them out by name, and to mention what about their work appeals to you and how you can see yourself working with that particular person. When you're applying for grad school, you're really applying for a craft, and what you're looking for is someone who's expert in that craft who can guide you and mentor you and help you to produce a work of art of your own, which will be your dissertation. And so you're really looking for a person even more than you're looking for a program. Although the entire program is here to help support you, and you will be drawing on the expertise of many different faculty, whether you're taking their graduate seminars, whether they're serving on your committees, or whether they're offering you some other professional development opportunity. It's really your advisor who's going to be the main focus and kind of driving inspiration of your degree. And so when you're writing your personal statement, you want to write it with an advisor in mind, thinking who would advise me and what is their special area of interest, what is their special approach to history, and how can I explain in my personal statement what my interests are, what my approaches are, in ways that would make sense to that person, that they would say, oh, I could advise this person. that their interests segue with my interests in a way that I think I could be really helpful to them. So the personal statement is a way that you have to signal to faculty in our department about why you're a great fit to work with a particular advisor or set of faculty. So it isn't so much about your own personal life or personal struggles, so much as your personal intellectual journey. How you arrived at the interest that you arrived at, how you arrived at the approach to history that you arrived at, and why you think that working here with this particular individual as your advisor would be